what an afternoon, power cuts and all sorts of things. So we had a delay. This live was supposed to be at 3 o'clock Western Standard Time, and now it is nearly 5 p.m. But nevertheless, we will go live now. So welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of Inspired to Thrive. Today, I'm your host, Fiona Jean, Purposeful Warrior, most of you will know me as. And it's my passion to teach others, to share my experience and wisdom so you too can ultimately create generational wealth for you and your legacy. The dollars, if you like, that live on to support those who come long after we've departed from this human experience, with the added bonus of time and money freedom. So my journey of awakening is, it's been long and it's been wonderful so far, and I'm looking forward to it continuing. But it's often one that's fraught with fear and doubt. So let's start to live with love and trust instead. Who agrees? Give me a hell yes in the comment box. In this brand new series, I'm going to poke the bear. I'm going to tell it how it is and share the truth of what I know and what I've learned to experience throughout the world. And I'll ask that our guest speakers do the same, share their truth, their successes, their struggles, so that we too may all be guided, on a slightly easier path. And I say that, but we still have to do the work if we want to see any change. After all, there is no magic pill. Hey Jai, thanks for joining. So grab a conscious cuppa, say hi, let me know where you're from. And I suggest that if you like the lives and the contents that we're sharing, and I trust that you do, follow the Purposeful Warrior page and turn on notifications so you don't miss that when we're live. And more importantly, you don't miss all the free weekly gifts that we'll be giving out from both me and from the speakers. That's vital to the actual work that you're going to be doing. It's not the FJTV show. It's not a weekly sitcom for you just to sit back and watch and not being really present. I want you to commit to be fully present and do the work, because success only comes through action. So let's get into it. The topic today is self-worth versus other worth. Do you really know the difference? Comment in the box and let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I'm really curious. The majority of people also have a false sense of self, namely what I mean by that is they believe that they're one thing when in reality, in reality and the reality of the situation shows that they're something different. And after all, proof here is in the results that you achieve in life. So I recommend getting real and raw in relation to this specifically, as a false sense of self is not going to allow you to grow in any way. It often holds you back, and in a lot of cases actually spirals things down in life, back down a downward track, which isn't what we want. So once again, the majority of people are always positioning for approval, often without realizing it. It's really how do I say, an unconscious action. It's something that, we just do without having conscious awareness around that. So it's the way the society conditions us, really, that there's the three main things really that society conditions to do is to seek approval, to belong in that herd, that herd community, and to fit in with the status quo. So we fit in with what's accepted in society, what the status quo is, and so we don't rock the boat. We don't have that like tall poppy syndrome. We sort of we kept in our little box, if you like. Just give me a hell yes or a let me know if you're following so far. Any questions? Please just put them in the comment box, tag me, hashtag replay if you're watching the replay, and I'll certainly get back and answer them. So who or what is self-worth? It's an interesting question, hey, and it's a great place to start. So let's unpack exactly what, excuse me, let me turn that phone off. Let me unpack exactly what self-worth is. And if we look into the history of the individual words, I'm not sure, is there anyone else here that loves to do this, to dig into the etymology of words? I find this intriguing to really find out where, the history of the word and where it's come from. Or is it an FJ geeky thing? Let me know if it's something that you're into too. So if we look at the word self, in the etymology.online, there's a place that you can go and look these things up. It's a fantastic resource to have at your fingertips. It's also great for copywriting, and marketing, all those sorts of things, which we get to in different episodes as we move through the series and talk about different aspects of creating a life of time and money freedom. So self. So the etymology of self is a person's essential being that distinguishes them from others, especially considered as the object of introspection or reflexive action. Now, there's some long, big words in that. And the etymology of worth is the level at which someone or something deserves to be valued or rated. So therefore, we can conclude that self-worth is in reality the valuing or rating of self. Interesting, right? Let me know if you think that's interesting too. So self-worth, let me repeat that. Self-worth is actually the valuing or rating of self. So when we talk about self, my mind instinctively goes to the extensive works that I've studied now for quite a while of Helen Sidra Stone, specifically a book called Embracing the Selves, which I'd recommend any of you who wish to delve more into this. You can order a copy online, you can research them. There's lots of videos and free content that you can access and go. It's really well worth doing or looking into. Because self-worth, whether you realize it or not, is actually with you all the time. It's not something that you put down or that you don't have. It's actually with you all the time. Self-image, again, is with you all the time. Self-concept, which is how you think about yourself, i.e., you look in the mirror and what do you see? Again, that's with you all of the time. Self-efficacy, however, this is something that you may or may not be familiar with. Self-efficacy is it's your belief in your capability, which many people confuse with self-worth. But this is actually contextual. So it's not with us all of the time. It means that it's based upon perhaps certain circumstances or situations or context. I hope this makes sense. Please let me know if it does. Is there anything you want clarification on or you have questions around, then please pop in the comments and let me know. So again, who or what is self? We have many selves. This is why I talk about, functionally selves-ish, not selfish anymore, because we have many selves. I have many selves, and I love all of the selves that I am. I have a protector. I have a controller. Yes, I'm a control freak at times, and I love that part of me. I don't want to give that up. I love the protector part of me. I don't want to give that up either. I have a vulnerable child. That place that allows me to tap into vulnerability, to real authenticity, often comes with some fear as well. Again, it's part of who I am. A slave. Yes, that's part of me. Victim? Oh, absolutely. Often the victim. The lover? Yes, I like to be that one. The shadow self, the one that's always looking on. The operating ego, the aware ego. There is lots and lots of different selves. There's so many. In fact, it's very interesting to start digging into this work. And it's how we develop or not these selves that will determine our true self-worth. When I understood this, or when I started to begin to understand this, it was really a game changer for me. And that is what I'm hoping to pass on to you here that's watching with me today or watching the replay. And another aspect here is, have you ever considered why do you get upset? You know, what is it that makes you feel upset, do you think, you know, when that happens to you? Because generally speaking, it's somebody or something external that actually upsets you. And the question may then become, and I'd love to invite you to ponder this question: why give your power away, and for what purpose? Why would you give your power away by allowing somebody else or something else to upset you, to influence your feelings, your emotions? Is it to stay in a life of servitude and lack that we're conditioned into from a very young age? Is that why we do it? It's an interesting question. Because a lot of people that I read, or a lot of books I've read, or you know, blogs I read, other people's content. I'm not saying, you know, there's any right, wrong. Everyone posts their own view on different things, and that's perfectly fine. But for me, the ultimate self doesn't actually exist. And there is a workshop program on this. I forget now. I think it's Big Mind, Big Heart, something like that. And it's part of the Hill and Sidra Stone work on the, you know, the selves, because ultimately you cannot know the self. You can't know the self, so there's no ultimate self, but you can experience the self. Does that make sense? Because there's no such thing as one singular self. We are many, like the controller, the protector, the victim, the lover, the mother, the nurturer, the worker. All of these parts of us are different selves, different segments that make up who we are. So how much work have you put into developing the selves? I'd love you to comment in the box and let me know. And perhaps this is the first time that you're hearing this concept, and that's perfectly fine. I just encourage you to have a bit of a Google and you know, see what comes up. Research a little bit. Ask me some questions. Because this is not something you can externalize. And this is the problem. When we externalize it, it's others' worth, not self-worth. Self-worth, sorry. So that's really important. That is the big difference. When we externalize something, it becomes others' worth, not self-worth. And we're back to positioning for approval. And then the cycle continues. So I don't know about you, but I'm breaking that cycle. I don't want to experience life in that way anymore, and I don't. I'm not influenced by others. I do what I choose, and it serves me. So self-worth can seem like a conceptual idea, you know, of how you might feel within yourself about yourself. And yes, it is a concept that acts like an umbrella, if you like. And an umbrella really is a great metaphor here. Because, like I said, we have all of these selves under the one umbrella. So the inner critic, for example, is always active. And that's a self. It's part of us. The imposter, same thing. It's a self. It's part of who we are. And then there's imposter syndrome, which is in reality your own assessment of yourself. So if you view that your sense of worth is low, if that's how you think, then imposter syndrome will appear, along with all the thoughts that I know we've all told ourselves at some point or another. I'm not good enough, skinny enough, I don't know enough, I'm not rich enough, all of these things. Because self-worth is not based on something as simple as good old-fashioned confidence or lack thereof. It really isn't. This is in fact self-efficacy, because remember, confidence is in itself context specific. So what do I mean by that? What do you mean, Fiona? Confidence is context specific. So as an example, let me think. You may be fully confident and easily able to boil an egg, right? So you have your level of self-efficacy is high, your confidence is high when you're boiling an egg in the kitchen. However, if I come along and ask you to prepare and host a dinner party for 10 people, if you're not confident, then your level of self-efficacy is lower. It doesn't affect your self-worth. This is where a lot of people get confused. It's the level of self-efficacy that is affected. Your ability to be able to perform confidently in that scenario, that context, those conditions. It's like, you know, I can confidently tie my own shoelaces, but I can't climb Mount Everest confidently. Might give it a go one day, who knows? But am I confident in doing it in my current condition? No. Whereas self-worth is with me all the time. My sense of self-worth is not affected whether I'm able to tie my shoelaces and I'm not able to climb Mount Everest. It doesn't make me less of a person. I don't think of myself as any less. I'm not unworthy just because I'm not confident enough to climb Mount Everest. Does that make sense? I hope so. So I was asked a few months ago now in a podcast interview with the beautiful Justin Paul on his, oh my gosh, I'm going to get the name wrong, The Money and Time Machine. Maybe I'll post up the show actually. And he's asked my view of if self-worth, you know, is like a muscle, it can be developed, nurtured, and improved upon. You might say that you could measure it. And a lot of people, it's given a lot of lip service, you know, a lot of people, but there's no pride of place really. And I was trying to understand initially what Justin meant in terms of development, because society develops just enough to survive and perform and not much more than that. So in other words, what he was saying is the society helps us to a point, but you have to seek further help and study and understand if you want to perform above the accepted norm, the accepted normal level of society. And I totally agree wholeheartedly with this view. You know, society, stereotypes, society engineering, all of these things try to push you into, you know, what's known as conspicuous, I can't even say it, conspicuous consumption. There you go. Double C we'll call it. And that don't mean the bra cup size. And what this means is conspicuous consumption means where you display to the outside world what you consume. So if you like a peacock, you know, if you will, you know, that beautiful male, of course, you know, that's beautiful, bright colors. The female is somewhat subdued and, you know, not as bright. And we often spend money on prestige items for status, you know, whether we can afford it or not, because we want to give the perception, if you like, to those looking in that we've got our shit together, because we're worthy, and you know, all of that bullshit that goes on in that world, like keeping up with the Joneses, you know. You want to have a new front gate because your neighbour's got one, or you're planting trees because, you know, your neighbour's got them and your yard looks a mess. So everyone's keeping up with everyone else. It's that comparisonitis in a different way. And the majority of society is being judged, believe it or not, on what they display. And it's just bullshit. You know, I'll give you a good example. Maybe this will make you understand if you know the full concept here. But one of the things I display is my size. And it certainly goes against the hourglass stereotype, you know, that could be my free ride, if you like, to external validation. You know, if I walked around and had this beautiful hourglass shape, then I might get the wolf whistles and I might be accepted, you know, with everyone and smiles and, you know, just a whole different persona. But no, my body doesn't conform to the social norm. So whether people are conscious of it or not, they stare, they pass comment, all sorts of different things. And to me now, I've learned to let that go. Is it hurtful if I'm truthful? So at times, sometimes I'm, if my guard's down a little bit or I'm having an off day, yes, I notice it and I let that in slightly, but then I, work on those things for myself. If I were to position for approval for my body or through my body, then my only options would be that I can think of right now is either to enter the biggest person contest, like for example, Biggest Loser, something like that used to be on TV, or change my body shape. So I become, the model or the 36, 26, 36, whatever it is these days, that's deemed to be the acceptable normal. Because this is how society has conditioned us to think. That one thing is normal, and then when you don't fit what is considered normal, it can equal a low sense of self-worth. Well, again, I'm here to call bullshit on that. I don't have a low sense of self-worth. I love who I am, every part of my being. I'm imperfectly perfect just the way that I am. Yes, I want to work on my health and well-being, but that doesn't mean to say I don't feel that I'm worthy. And I trust you are the same. Never let anyone make you feel unworthy. That's others' worth, not self-worth. Self-worth is always with you. Because we are conditioned into an idea or close parameters of what self-worth looks like or should be. And this, my friends, like I said, is not self-worth, it's others' worth. It's a social engineering, it's a negative impact. So the question then becomes, which self is doing the rating or the valuing? Is it the ego? Is it the protector? And when is it based on external influence? Because like I said, if it's based on external influences, then it becomes others' worth. It's not your true innate self or selves. And when you reflect, perhaps with some self-appraisal, ask yourself, which self is doing the appraising? Is it an internally influenced self? A more self-sustaining, happier self? Or is it externally influenced? Is it the opinions of others? The latest thing in fashion, perhaps, the designer jewelry piece that you've wanted through the window, like that conspicuous consumption we were talking about, having the latest gadget, keeping up with the neighbors. Because how we desire to be seen in the outside world by our peers for social status, regardless of whether it is real or perceived, is externally influenced. It's others' worth. Paying more attention to your personal journey, however, through unpacking what self-worth is, will give you clarity in that self-worth is valuing or rating you. And like I said, the opposite here is others' worth. And generally, it's a concept that most people will understand. Because it's one thing to externalize under the influence of others and the selves, because the selves will make adjustments. So if you're influenced by external forces, then ourselves, our other beings, they come and they protect us. The protector will stand up and it will make adjustments. So it seeks approval. And even then, even after all the adjustments have been made, it attempts to seek approval. Rarely do you meet the impossible standards that are set by society. So if I let my, ego take over and it sort of beats me up and, I try and do my best, will I ever get the hourglass shape that everyone will be happy with? Probably not. Who knows? I love my curves. I don't want to lose my curves. So I ask you, why do you do it? Why do you let others influence you? Why do you let others' worth take a toll on you? I invite you to stop. So let's come back to a moment to self-appraisal. You know, which self is doing the appraisal? Is it an internally influenced one? Those which are more self-sustaining and happier? Or is it an external one? So in tying all this together, to have a clear understanding to you as a person of what self-worth is, it is in fact taking control of your own sense of meaning. Self-worth is everything to do with the meaning you give things, how you rate or value you, yourself. And yes, indeed, when you start to put this into action, that's where the magic happens. So that's the difference between selves and others' worth. And I trust this has been useful to you, and you'll be able to start asking yourself some of the questions or the tough questions around this. I've also got a beautiful gift to give away for you, which will be posted just after this live finishes. And it's actually a set of video clips. There's 9 video clips that I'm going to share from one of my mentors, along with my thoughts, if you like, in the emails that accompany them around extraordinary achievement and how to start unlocking this for yourself. And I think they are a beautiful set of clips. Each one's, I don't know, no more than 5 or 6 minutes even, if that. And they're well worth watching. And we can unpack that even more as we go through the next few weeks. So next week, same time, well, no, at 3 p.m, same bat channel, I have the gorgeous Tammy Ritchie joining me, and we're going to be talking about all things networking and how she'll be sharing with you the opportunity and the way of sharing your valuable products and services in such a way that you can promote them for free. It's a beautiful concept and such a great community that's been formed, and I'm lucky to be part of that. So I look forward to chatting with Tammy more about that next week, and I trust that you can join us then. So till then, remember, stay inspired and thriving. Be your own best boss. Do whatever it takes for you to succeed in business, and making sure that you succeed with your own self-care. Keep your self-worth intact. It belongs to you. It's internally influenced. Don't, please, I invite you to let go of the influence of others, the external things that will keep you playing a small game. So till then, it's bye-bye from me.